Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I do want to talk about how I'm breaking free from my extreme minimalist wardrobe. And I think we haven't talked about my wardrobe in a while actually. And that's also kind of part of what I want to talk about, and it kind of makes sense, I hope, after this video. So I've had a minimalist wardrobe for 7 years. As long as I've been a minimalist, I think my wardrobe was one of the first things that I decluttered. Realizing wow, I have almost 150 pieces. That's way too much. I need to declutter these. And I went down to maybe 40, and then over the years I went down to 20. And I think like 3 or 2 years ago, I maybe had the smallest number of pieces in my wardrobe. And now I have a few more again. So I guess it's maybe around 30 or something. But why do I want to break free, or what does that even mean? So I obviously do not have anything against minimalist wardrobes, and my wardrobe is still really minimalist. And I plan on keeping it that way. So breaking free, I just mean in a sense of on one hand, the whole extreme minimalist wardrobe, and on the other hand, kind of the focus and the determination and the importance that lies on that minimalist wardrobe. So as you might know, I've been making a few videos about quitting extreme minimalism and not wanting to focus on always having less stuff anymore. And I think the first time I kind of talked about that was a bit over a year ago, and I'm actually gonna link you, I think, the videos about that up here so you can check them out. Oh, there's a lot of birds flying by. It was beautiful. We have beautiful winter weather, but it's really cold. So what I want to say is that for the longest time, for many years, I focused on having less stuff, and I thought my life gets better the less I own. A bit oversimplified maybe. But I realized, and today we're talking about my wardrobe, that at some point it's so much about maintaining a low number, and it's so much about thinking do I really need this? Could I not declutter this as well? Am I really wearing that often enough to justify owning it, and things like that. And a minimalist wardrobe can make my life easier. It definitely does. But all of these thoughts are not making my life easier. So by ditching extreme minimalism, ditching an extreme minimalist wardrobe, I do want to open up some brain space and stop worrying about my clothes. Actually, in the most recent podcast episode of my new podcast that I have with Paulina, I talk about is our clothes superficial? Is it a superficial thing? Should you not think about clothes? Should they not be important? And I don't want to give you too much of a spoiler, but that's not what I want to say. I don't want to say I don't want to think about my clothes ever. They are not allowed to take up any space in my mind. What I want to say is that's that constant focus on the number of pieces and the constant focus on trying to have even less clothing items is not the benefit I want to have from a minimalist wardrobe. So there's 4 things I thought of that help you maybe, and that help me right now to have a minimalist wardrobe that I'm happy with without worrying too much about it, and enjoying all the benefits while ditching all the negative stuff. So number 1 is I want to stop being fixated on number. Now, to be clear, I never really counted the items in my wardrobe because I always thought it's kind of difficult. You can count them, but when everybody counts them differently, then you can't really compare yourself to other people. Now, you can still compare your wardrobe to your wardrobe from a year ago, and then when you evolve and change your wardrobe, you can compare it again and see if something changed, if it's more or less. But I want to stop all of that. I want to get to a point where it's not that important anymore if I own 3 shirts, 5 shirts, or even 10 shirts, because I think in the end that really doesn't change my life. But of course, I don't want to just start over consuming now and not care at all about fashion and how I spend my money, how much I over consume, how many things I buy. And therefore, the second point I want to talk about is I do want to have values instead of rules. So I've never had very strict rules, but definitely I had some rules I know I only need 3 sweaters, so I'm not allowed to have more than 3 sweaters because it's all I need. And things if I buy a new sweater, then I have to declutter another sweater because otherwise I have more than I need and I only want to have what I need. And things like that, just focusing very much on like keeping this wardrobe small to an extent where it takes a lot of energy to maintain this small number. And so what I mean by values is that I definitely have these values of like intentional consumption, of having a sustainable wardrobe, of trying to have a wardrobe that, you know, makes my life easier and better and makes me feel good, but doesn't stress me out again, like no matter if it's because I have too many clothes or because I don't have enough clothes. And I think these values are definitely enough to not make my wardrobe explode in size and keep like a relatively small number. And way more important, because again, I don't want to care about the number anymore, is that these values still align with my overall values, so I can still be a sustainable, mindful consumer, not spend too much money and not cause any more harm to the planet than, you know, what's kind of necessary. And here I also want to talk about today's sponsor, which is Organic Basics. So as you might know, I've been partnering with Organic Basics for a long time, and they are a sustainable brand from Copenhagen, Denmark, and they make everyday basics, underwear, and just comfortable clothes for everyday life. I also want to talk about transparency here. So this is how I make money as an influencer, partnering with brands, which of course involves me getting new pieces, new garments. But I try to always make sure that it's stuff that I actually want to wear for a long, long time and use up until it cannot be worn anymore. Also, Organic Basics had a little bit of a difficult phase in summer where the owner changed. I do want to give them another chance. I do believe that they really want to be a sustainable brand, and I think we need more brands that are transparent, that really try and that don't just greenwash something. And one of the things that I actually really like about them is how transparent they are. So on their website, you can see how much impact like the clothing piece you're about to buy has, but they're offsetting everything, but they're still like, you know, they're transparent. Like, it's not like your garment does not have any impact, but it's like, this is the impact your garment has. We're trying to keep it low, but it's still, you know, it's a garment that needs to be made, and then we're offsetting it. And I think that's a really like honest way to deal with this, because the fashion industry is definitely not perfect, and every single thing we buy has an impact on the planet. And so I think it's good to just be able to make an informed choice. So the items that I want to show you today are tencel pieces. And I don't know if you know, but tencel itself is a very sustainable fabric because it's made from natural fiber and it takes a lot less water to grow than cotton, for example. I think they have a few like really beautiful pieces. So the first one I have is this new cinnamon color. Is a like, I don't think it's a really turtleneck, maybe it's like a mock neck t-shirt, and it has a bit of a longer sleeve. And as you might know, like tencel always kind of feels like silk, so it falls really nicely. It's very smooth and soft, and it's like a great fabric, I think, for all year round. Then the next piece I have, I'm actually really excited about, and it's this long sleeve shirt. And long sleeves are something I haven't had in my wardrobe during the past few years, but I decided, you know, to loosen up, to stop restricting myself and invite some long sleeves, actually, as well as invite some black pieces again. And it has this a bit of like oversized fit. It's more fitted on the arms, but it's definitely oversized on like the body. And I really like this style. I also do want to say that I have this in XXS, which is like a new size, smaller than what they previously carried. So they have like a smaller size now, and I also believe they have bigger sizes now. So there's just a better size range, which I think is also a really important thing to consider for every single brand. And especially I want to see sustainable brands carrying a lot of sizes as well. And this black tencel long sleeve actually comes with a pair of pants, or of course you can, you know, buy them individually, but it's a set. And it's these beautiful, comfortable tencel pants. And I have these in an XXS as well. So usually I would go for XS, but I went like one size down. And I do have to say, be careful about the waistband, because that's on like the tighter side for me. But it's like they fall beautifully, and I really do hope that they can be both like a really casual pair of pants that's comfortable all the time, but can also be dressed up a little bit, because I think this silky fabric and just a simple, elegant cut kind of would make a great pair of pants as well, you know, if it's dressed up. So I can highly recommend you check out their new collection, of course, as well as their underwear and everything else. And there's also a code which is LEA10 that gives you 10% off your order, no matter if you've like bought from them before, if you've used a code of mine before. So I highly recommend you check out Organic Basics. The link is gonna be down below in the description and the code as well. But the next thing I want to talk about, so like the third thing, is that I want to stop like decluttering just because I don't absolutely need it. So I touched on that a little bit before, but I would definitely try to, maintain a number. So at some points I would declutter items that I really liked just because I had like more items than what I absolutely need. And I really want to stop that, because I think if I have 5 sweaters that I really like, why not have 5 sweaters or 10 sweaters? If I have 2 or 3 t-shirts more than I absolutely need, but I really like all of them and I get use out of all of them, then why would I declutter them? It's actually more sustainable if I wear them until they fall apart than giving them away and not really knowing if anybody else is gonna use them in the future. Of course, that only counts for like an amount of pieces that you can actually wear on a regular basis. So having 10,000 pieces and saying, oh, it's more sustainable to keep them, I don't think that's correct. But I think in my case, it's still the most sustainable thing to do, using the items that I actually have. And then the fourth thing, it kind of also ensures that I do maintain an intentional amount of items and that my closet doesn't really explode, is that I want to, instead of like focusing on the number and always being like, oh, well, I have one sweater too much or something like that, I want to just be able to fit everything in its space, because that's, I think, important. So yes, belongings can fluctuate. Yes, there can be a time where you declutter a lot and end up only having 10% of the stuff you had before, but there are also times where you get a bunch of new things. But what I do think is important to kind of keep in mind that you have to store these items somewhere. We have to care for them, we have to store them, we have to wash them if they're clothes. So I want to keep like my drawers, and usually I just have all of my clothes in my one drawer, and I kind of want to maintain that. I do have a second drawer where I store some of my like off-season pieces, and I've started doing that like in the past year because I realized they don't all fit in one drawer. But one drawer is still a very tiny space, so I think that's okay. There might even be a point where I, decide to give my clothes even more drawer space. For example, when there's less wool in my possession, less yarn, and therefore I can open up some of the space that the yarn is taking up for my clothes. Maybe that's gonna happen. But I still really intend to keep a small wardrobe that makes me happy with the pieces that I really like wearing. I intend to declutter stuff that, I don't want to wear anymore, or that needs to be decluttered because you can't really wear it anymore. Like that, I just hope to kind of break free from all the restricting things about an extreme minimalist wardrobe. So what I'm gonna have in the future is definitely also gonna be a minimalist wardrobe, and I'm not gonna overconsume and spend mindlessly. If you remember, I actually set it as one of my goals to not buy any new clothes this year. Only if I, have them through like a brand partnership with Organic Basics or similar, or if I, desperately suddenly need something that I don't have anymore, no underwear to wear, for example. And so I do not intend to have a huge wardrobe in the future, but these are just my thoughts on like keeping it intentional without having it restricting your life. Now I would be really interested in hearing from you how you manage your wardrobe, if you think about it a lot, if you have nothing to wear or if you feel like that, if you have too much, like how are you? How is your wardrobe, and what do you plan to do with your clothes? So don't forget to check out Organic Basics. It's all linked down below, and now I will link you a video here that I hope you'll enjoy, and otherwise I do hope to see you in my next video. Goodbye!